Hi, Steve.
Hey, Jim.
Bye, Steve.
Bye, Jim.
Welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where each week these two guys get together and talk about records. So imaginative, right?
It is. Well, it's all we know what to talk about. We tried politics, everything else. None of it works out. It just comes back to records.
Let's not go there.
Yep.
My name's Jim, and I am a record store owner.
And I'm Steve, a record collector.
And here we are, Steve, episode 52, one episode a week. 1 year's worth of episodes, and you're leaving me.
Yep. Well, it just, after a year ago, I think it's just time to move on. Let's go into some new territory. I think I'm going into television next.
Oh, my. Well, we could, possibly. Yeah. So this is a big step for you. We've talked about this for the past few weeks, but that day is here.
It is here, yes. In fact, as the time of this broadcast hits, I'm on the plane heading to Denver.
And as the time of the recording, you are retired.
Yes, I am officially. It was when I took my work phone and I went in and I hit log off, shut down, I had an ear-to-ear smile. I mean, it was just the greatest thing. Those stinking phones rule your life. And so I turned in the phone in my computer to UPS, ship it back.
And then you came to the record store.
And then I came to the record store to spend my retirement. If I was in town, I'd just be that guy at the counter. That guy's always there. Does he have nothing else to do?
Well, I'm glad you took time from your newly retired just everything, the newly retirement, to stop in here. I wanted to make sure we got one more in-store recording done before you jet off to the great state of Colorado.
Exactly. But we still will be doing this,
yes,
folks.
That's, I think, the key is that I'm getting a lot of questions when people say, oh, Steve's moving away. Is that the end of the podcast? Well, no. We are going to retool, as they say in television, speaking of that, and do things a little bit differently. When Steve and I started the podcast now a year ago, one of the original things we thought, well, we're going to do the audio podcast, but I've got cameras. I'm an old TV and film guy, so I was going to start recording these, but it didn't seem to work for the way we wanted to do it. I mean, setting a camera up, we'd need a multi-camera, we'd need an extra couple of people to do it to make it right, for me to do it right.
Yeah. We'd have to have a crew.
Yes. Where it's just two guys and a microphone talking about records.
Simple.
Made it a little easier. But now, with Steve moving away, he's leaving me. The idea of a video podcast comes back into play because we are going to begin recording these online. We're going to get together once a week still and talk about records, but through the internet as a medium here. And the way that I've got set up for this is what I used to do when I would do interviews for the store, and it's by default there's a video. So I thought, well, as long as we're taking this video, we might as well just have a video podcast. Those of you that still want to listen on Spotify can do so. We'll upload the audio, but there will be a video component to this where you get to see us actually holding up the records now instead of talking just about them, which could add a different aspect to this.
It could, and we'll have to comb our hair and maybe iron our shirts or something like that.
Pants will still be optional because we can shoot from the waist up.
Yes, exactly.
A retiree, you're probably going to be lucky to get one of those, but you're not going to be retired for long.
No, I'm not. If by Wednesday, I'm working for my son. I'm going to work for my son, live in his basement, and he's driving me to work.
That's a little backwards, isn't it?
It sure is. It's payback time.
What comes around goes around. Well, I really do wish you all the best. I think that this is going to be a good thing for you.
Yeah.
And, well, we won't get emotional. How's that?
Okay.
We will not get emotional.
I had enough of that the last couple of weeks.
Saying goodbye at work.
Yeah. Yep.
I can imagine.
Yep.
Well, let's dive into the talking about records part, shall we?
Okay.
This is the Vinyl Community Podcast, and so what we like to do is talk about the recent pickups. And I did not have a busy one this week. How about you? You did, unfortunately.
Oh, here's the thing. All my records are pretty much packed up, and I'm done. I have all these empty cabinets, and so I'm traveling and hitting all these record stores. I'm actually, recording for future episodes because I'm not going to have a record collection for maybe 2 months around me. So,
no.
So for my YouTube channel, I'm putting all this stuff in the bank. the thing is, I mean, the record stores, and what do they have records, and then I'm supposed to buy them, I mean, it's just, you feel bad if you don't. So yeah, it was big. So I'll just give you some of what I'm going to have another box, I think.
No.
Okay. But a couple of really things I was really looking for. The first Flock of Seagulls. When Flock of Seagulls came out, I really hated them. I think it was the haircut. That might have just been. It was just like, what the hell is that? But as I got older, I like this. And I think it's memories. It just brings you back. It's one of those nostalgia bands.
Yep.
So I finally found the first Flock of Seagulls, and I have been trying to find this. You get it in, it goes right out.
And I don't think we've had one in quite a while here either.
Nope, you have not. And even at the record show, nobody had it.
Huh.
I was looking around for it. So I had that. Also, I'd been looking for Devo's Freedom of Choice. I found the other Devos, but I couldn't find Freedom of Choice. So I got that. So I used to have that. Another one I used to have, they had Cameo, Word Up.
You're just going all 80s in this.
I really am. Yes, and it's going to keep there.
WORD.
Yeah, Word Up. What a great song. The rest of the album's okay, but Word Up's awesome. I did find an original Sonic Youth Daydream Nation.
Wow, that's a biggie.
That's a biggie, and considering I got to pay for a moving truck and everything, it's like, well, is that probably the most intelligent thing you've done? But I'd saved the vinyl from the flood, and I wanted it. And I have a reissue that I have the vinyl with, but here was an original, so now I have 2 sets of albums.
Well, you got 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. Exactly.
1.5. 2.5, sorry.
So I found that. Another one, it was came out last year, and it's a group called the Helicopters.
Okay.
And they're out of Sweden, and it's a hard rock band. And I remember people talking about them and hearing that. I put that on a list to buy, but that list to buy is fairly big. Well, I'm up in Traverse City, and I'm with JT from So I Married a Record Collector, and he goes, "Oh, this is a good album." He was helping me spend my money. It was called Eyes of Oblivion. So yeah, I bought that, and then this was an interesting one. It was a blues, Elmo Williams and Hezekiah Early.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that weird? It came out in 1997. The name of the album is Takes One to Know One on Fat Possum. And
okay. That's an interesting label, too.
It is. And Elmo Williams is a blues guy out of Alabama. And it's like R.L. Burnside. It's that kind of blues. It's that raw, scratchy, just really down-home, gritty, dirty blues. I really enjoy that. So it was a pretty good album. Just something different. There it was. Well, I mean, anybody that has Hezekiah Early, I don't even know what's that's about.
This?
Better give that a shot.
Cool.
So what your light week, huh?
It was a light week coming off of the record show last week, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as a follow-up to last week's road trip episode.
Yep.
But a couple things that have been on the periphery here that I have not officially added into the collection, but had set aside. I had meant to add them in. So I have had these for probably a few months now, but now they're officially in the personal collection. One was a Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle, a reissue.
Okay.
I had a good OG of that, but somebody picked that up for me a while ago.
Yep.
Trying to think of who that might have been.
Packed up in a box now.
So, but I mean, it's a cool album, and I will find another OG eventually. But I got one of those RSD Essential marble-colored vinyl ones, and I've had that here with me for a bit, but never officially added it. And cleaning up some boxes, I thought, oh yeah, I forgot about this. Another one, oh yeah, I forgot about this, was the Steven Wilson Intrigue. I know you were real big on that compilation album of the sounds in the UK alternative music, 1979 through 1989. Now, you got the big box set, right?
Yes, I did.
I got the double LP, which is the very condensed version of this. I picked that up a while ago, I think late last year. Gave it a listen. I sold 2 or 3 of the 2 album versions in the store, and I really liked the open copy. So that's just going to kind of scoot over to the personal collection. But that's a great compilation of music that you think you know the groups, but you don't know some of the deeper cuts that Wilson got into.
Yeah. He is really, especially in the UK, he's everywhere on everything. he's very good with this stuff. And, the Jethro Tull material he's worked on sounds very good.
He's got the touch, it seems like.
Yeah.
And then the final addition was, we talked about this a little bit on the ride home last week from the record show in Carlson, was the only thing I kept for myself from the Carlson pickups was the self-titled album from The Call, 1982, their debut album. I've got a lot of the other Call stuff. Modern Romans is probably, I think, was one of my top albums that we talked about way back in one of our previous ones. But I'd never had their original self-titled, their debut release. So I saw that at the record show. I picked it up. Couldn't quite remember which one it was. That's what it was their debut from 82. Just some great, good alternative music from The Call in this case.
Yeah,
so I picked that up. So again, it was a light week, but even though we picked up all that stuff at the record show, you talked about yours and I talked a little bit about mine. I did get a chance to go through some of this stuff. One of them I'm very, very pleased with and happy. The other one was, as I suspected, not quite what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking, if you remember last week's, or if you go back a little bit to last week's episode, one of the pickups that I grabbed at the record show, and this is on me. I think we were a little rushed. We were recording some stuff. We needed to get out of there to get back to the store, and the crowds were descending.
Yes,
we heard that after we left the Carlson record show, that there was a line, many people deep, waiting to get in. And you mentioned, too, when we left, there were cars parked on the lawn there.
Yeah, there were. I mean, you could hear the rumble. They were coming in. It was like a herd of elephants in the distance. They were coming. We got to get out of here.
As we were leaving, we ran into our friend Mike outside.
Yes.
He was heading in. We were heading out. We waved and said hi real quick. He dropped a note later on saying, man, did it get busy.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's good to hear that those record shows are bringing in the crowds that they're supposed to. But what I was talking about on the way back last week was grabbing that Pink Floyd Saucer Full of Secrets. And there was a $90 price tag on it. And I really should have taken a few more moments to think. I should have known this based on the label by itself. It was an original, it was priced like an original Tower record, U.S. pressing, but it was not the first pressing. The original Tower pressings had just a plain label. The reissue from the next year had a Tower striped label. Oh. And I knew this. I kicked myself when I looked it up, and I thought I should, but it actually makes a pretty big difference. So not that it's any slouch, but the version that I got from the record show that was priced out at $90 floats between $18 and $40 or $50 as a 1 year old past that original reissue, versus the other one. And I do have a good OG in my collection of Saucer Full of Secrets. I've got a 1968 version instead of 69 with the plain Tower label. The price difference is the median is $50 and it goes up to nearly $200.
Wow.
So that 1 year and that little bit of a label does make a little bit of a difference. And, I'm not faulting the dealer that I picked that up from, because they probably say, oh, it's an early Tower Floyd. It must be this one. And it should have been on me to double check that.
Yeah, I guess. But, when that does happen, I get pretty disappointed, because, I just felt like I got took. That's just my feeling. It's happened. And I says, I'm not going to go back to that dealer just for the fact that, I felt that, I got taken advantage of. And to your point, maybe he didn't look or didn't know, and we just got to put, I'm going to guess that I think this would be the price on there. But, when you're talking that kind of dollar amount, I think you need to be more, really, think about if you're a dealer, okay, what's the right price? Exactly. $5, $10, who cares? You know what? Oh, hey, it was a $5, I paid $10. No big deal. That is a big deal.
It's a bigger deal. Now, I was getting this for store stock anyway, because I got to be honest, my original copy it's going to be hard to upgrade from mine. I've got a beautiful copy, cover, vinyl-wise, so it's going to be very, very difficult. But I also, worked for probably 10 to 12 years to find that perfect one.
Sure.
So what I was getting was for store stock anyway. So, it's a little disappointing, but not earth-shattering, I guess, is the best way to put it. But I agree. It should have been... I should have thought a little bit more clearly and remembered, and I knew it at one point, that, the striped Tower label is not the first.
Buyer beware.
Now, the other one, though, that is very surprising was a Bob Seger that I picked up. I picked up a few of those. We talked about this, and I thought that I had some of these. It was something called a Bob Seger story, which is a promotional item, but still on the record label. This one that I picked up, and I got to do a lot more research on this, is I thought was the Bob Seger story, but it is a promotional one, but it's an ABC radio show with all the cue sheets and all the promotional material.
Okay.
Now, it very well may be the same thing as the Bob Seger story that I've run into before, but because this is a radio show, it's a little bit different. It's in my wheelhouse because I can do some research. The key here is, though, it is not in Discogs. I've gone up and down, and if it's the same version of something I already have, this version is not in Discogs. Once I put a needle to it and actually begin listening to it to see if it is the same, it could very well be a completely different item that, as we speak, does not exist in Discogs, which could be a very good high-ticket promotional item from Seger. And I'm talking probably a little bit more than what I paid for it. So that makes up for the Floyd a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
But now I've got to do, a good 2 or 3 hours worth of research to get this figured out what it is, and then to get it entered into Discogs, which is no small task, as you know.
Yeah. Well, too bad you're not retired, because when you're retired, you got all the time in the world to do that kind of stuff.
I can pass this off to you to do.
You
now, you're
sure
be
could.
Retired for 2 days, right?
Yes, exactly. I go, yeah, Jim, it's a $500 album. Just trust me on it.
But yeah, the promotional stuff can be tricky because, especially if it doesn't exist in Discogs already, then there's no basis for guessing what the price might be. Mm-hmm. But because it doesn't exist in Discogs, that also means it's tremendously unique. And if you put it in there, all of a sudden you're going to find out how many people are looking for something like that. Sure. That is to say, if it makes it anywhere, because I'm a big promo guy and an old radio guy at the same time. So this could very well end up being in the personal collection. We'll just have to see where it goes. And I'll update you on this as we get going a little bit further. But all in all, I think, I still did have a really good time down there going there with you. And I picked up some cool stuff, and we'll move it through the store, and I'll keep the call and really enjoy it.
Yep. Very nice.
Now, one of the other things I wanted, speaking of Discogs, how's that for a transition,
okay.
Steve? Speaking of Discogs, they posted up something just the other day in their blog that they do, and like a news item that they do, but they shared it on their social media. And the title of this article is Discogs Collectors Make History with 750 Million Records in a Global Collection, meaning that Discogs has gone through and analyzed their database, which I'm happy they're doing, but maybe concentrate a little bit more on keeping that website running better, guys, please. But they've gone through and have, the headline of that says it all, but it gets in it. Have you ever wondered what 1 million records would look like? Now multiply that by 750. So the Discogs collector community just surpassed this milestone in music collecting. That means that there are 750 million records that are in people's collections that utilize Discogs.
Okay, so there would be a correction to that. My first collection is still in Discogs, so you need to take 10,000 out of that.
You never pulled that out.
I never pulled it out because I wanted to, it tells me what I had and didn't have, so it's in there. So they think they're at 750, but really it's 490,000.
Well, if we're going to get that nitpicky, then I'm also going to tell you that I utilize Discogs as the inventory device for our store. So let me look over here, 8,435 that technically are not in a collection, but they're store stock. So, okay, take that number as it will, but 750 million, still nothing to sneeze at.
It's nothing to sneeze at, but I think we've really poked some holes into this thing, and we need to let them know, it's not quite right.
And how many other people just add stuff into the collection thinking that it's a want list or something like that, users that don't know. But this is still kind of cool. They talked about that in 2021, so just 3 years ago, Discogs reached 500 million records in the collection. So that equates to a 50% growth in just 3 years, and that is a lot of records.
That is.
But that does not take away from some of the pains that Discogs continues to have. Just last week, you looked through a box of records that came in, and I was cataloging. I sat down for a night, and I was going to catalog 100 records in my spare time. That's what I do for fun. Yeah. That will eventually become store stock. And I could not because the Discogs database wasn't working. Okay. I could not add anything to the collection. And then finally a note popped up on Discogs saying, we're aware of a problem. Please be patient. So we work with this. And there are still some problems with the mobile app on this too. So I know they're working on it, and kudos to them for trying to keep this thing up and running. That's more than I could ever do. So I'm not going to complain too much, but man, they've got to work hard at keeping this thing up now that this many people utilizing it.
Maybe that's why, even as I was packing up my collection, there's certain albums looking and go, what's not in my collection? How did I miss this? And I swear that I'd put that in, and maybe it's just one of these glitches that it didn't accept it. I don't know.
Now, there's some other very cool info in this.
Yeah.
That they broke down their database that talks about the average collections of people. What do you have on that?
Yeah, the average collection is 200 items. 200. So
wow.
I guess
we're a little above average.
Yeah,
hey,
we
Steve,
are.
We're above average. High
Finally,
five.
I'm going to tell my mother, and she's going to be so proud of me. Look, Mom, I'm finally above average. Are you proud? Medium collection size is 20 items. Largest Discogs collection, 634,000
Wow.
items.
So that's somebody in Discogs has cataloged 600,000 items into a collection.
Yeah. And the smallest one is one item.
So one person probably accidentally put something in there. Do you know where yours sits personally? I mean, not your old one, which you just had 11,000.
The new one, I'm around 2,800 right now. Real close.
That's pretty cool. Mine sits at 1,300 personally, and the 8,000 some odd cataloged for the store.
Yeah. So we're above average.
Way above average. But 200 is, I mean, that's a manageable number for novice and hobby collectors, basically.
Yep. Average collection value is $320.
And that's a cool thing. If you've never noticed in Discogs, you can actually take a look at your estimated collection value on the low side, the median side, and the high side, and that's based on their sales, the online sales in the marketplace. What is the average collection value?
$320.
Oh,
yeah.
I think we spent that the other day.
Shoot, I just bought one record for that.
Holy
what the heck?
Smokes.
Wow. Yeah. So there's some, I guess there's a lot of dollar records in some collections. The most collected artist was the Beatles. 4,700,000 collections have Beatles in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man. And the most collected master release is Dark Side of the Moon.
That is not surprising.
Yeah.
Not surprising at all.
575,000 have been collected.
Wow.
Isn't
And
it?
the various of the Dark Side.
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the ones I think we looked at before. There are so many different variations of that under that master release.
It is the worst to catalog.
Oh, it's time consuming.
Yes, it is. And most collected release was Daft Punk Random Access Memories from 2006 with 68,000 collected.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an odd thing to pop in there with the Beatles and Pink Floyd.
Yeah, and Daft Punk. And most expensive release in a collection, and it is not a butcher cover. It is Prince's Black Album, average price $27,500.
Those things make the news when they sell. And by average price, that means they've sold more than one of that Prince Black album. That's not the bootleg.
Yeah.
That's the original thing. And it usually goes in that very high $20,000 to $25,000 to $27,000 range.
Wow, that's the kind of thing that hits Sotheby's auction. Holy smokes!
Wow. Now vinyl obviously is king in Discogs. 70% of that database is vinyl items added in. 73 some odd millions. Then you've got everything from CDs to cassettes to DVDs or files. All that stuff is part of the database as well, but vinyl is king with 70%. What I find very cool in their breakdown also, though, is that they can break this into genres based upon, I mean, the database gives you all this information. So if you're a numbers crunching type of person, you can get in there. 53% of the database is rock and roll. 22% is electronic music. 19% is pop. And only 9% is funk and soul.
And then jazz isn't even listed.
Jazz is number 5 at 8%.
At 8%.
At 8%. It goes down a little bit further from there. And then it goes all the way down. Reggae is at number 11 with 2% in the database.
Okay.
But the pop number...
How about Zamrock?
Zamrock does not show up on here, unfortunately.
5
Sorry.
people.
And you're one of them.
Yes,
you're
I'm
3
one
of them.
Yes.
Actually, 2 if you've got Zamrock in your old collection.
Yeah.
But the pop number surprised me because of what they broke out here with the most collected artist from 2020 to present. What does that say?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, it's one artist that is the top 5, and it is the Swiftie Effect.
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, 1 through 5. And the biggest one is Folklore, the Long Pond Studio Sessions, 29,000.
That was the Record Store Day release last year.
Oh,
that would be interesting. But she holds the top 5 spots for the most collected artist in 20.
Yep, from 2020 to present. And people can make fun of her, but here's the thing is, look how many people she's brought into record collecting. Now, I can't say they're really collecting. They probably, a lot of them are only buying Taylor Swift and nothing else, but they're still, that's vinyl. It's going out, and it's just all part of, the growth.
And speaking as a record store owner, these people are the future of this market, this industry.
Well, when we've looked at the growth, we've talked about this on a number of our broadcasts, how, every year it's going up.
Yep.
Well, a large part of that growth is right there, Taylor Swift. It'd be interesting to factor her out. If you just pulled out her sales, what would it look like?
Yeah. It would be, you can probably, I'm sure that there is a number cruncher that could do that, but I'm not that person.
Well, I'm retired now, so I guess I have that time to sit around and do that. So for the next month or so.
Actually go through and spiff up your Discogs database to make sure it's all up to date.
Yes.
Now, the other part of this, and the last thing we'll get to on the Discogs, they sent out a survey late last year to 50,000 collectors that are Discogs members, and asked them about their collections and the motivation behind their collector's journey. We got into this with Dr. Dave a couple of weeks back, talking about why people collect. A handful of quotes represents the very small cross-section of Discogs collectors. The question was, what does your record collection mean to you? A lot of people said it's about the emotional connection to the music and the artist, stuff we've talked about lots of times. It's a great way to pay tribute to the music that has influenced me greatly. And we talked about that, records that mean a lot to us. It's a passion. I'm a music lover. I'm replacing, this is all you, did you answer all of these?
Yeah, I did.
I'm replacing and building the collection I had in my youth. And then somebody says, it's everything.
I'm a hoarder? Is that on there? No?
That did not show up.
Okay. No one wants to admit it.
The next one is, I have a problem.
Yes.
We're collecting. But, we don't need to rehash this. We've talked about this on so many other episodes, why we collect and what this means to us to have this. And I think if we add this into you, what does this mean to you is the fact that you are the type of collector that this means so much to you, that you have taken so much great care over the past, however many months when you decided you were moving and retiring, that you've taken this great care to pack this collection up because it's that important to you that you're moving this across the country with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It is passion. I mean, I don't want anybody touching it or looking at it. Mine, and stay away. And but yeah, it's been fun. You're just I've looked at every single album as I'm putting it in there. You just see what I have and go and checking it out. And I have special boxes where I put in my high-end stuff. So as I've been looking, say, oh wow, that goes for that much, and throw them in special boxes, and those will travel in the car with me.
You've had a unique opportunity, and unfortunately, over the past several years, to think about how and what and why you collect, and for 2 different reasons. One being the flood that forced you to look at all of these things as you hauled them out to the curb. This has got to be a little bit better of an experience looking at these things saying, I'm taking this with, this means a lot.
Yeah, oh yeah, it definitely is. But even as I'm doing that, I was purging. I brought in 2 boxes of records here to the record store for credit. Yes, and folks, I know I'm moving, but yeah, I still brought them in for credit. Yeah, I'm flying back once in a while just to go radio shopping in Radio Wasteland.
Oh,
and do
we
a
can
podcast.
mail things to
Yes.
you too. So.
But it was as I'm looking, go, you know what? I'm not going to listen to this. And there was a number of albums, and there were some really kind of big time albums that I just go, that's not. That doesn't have my interest anymore. And so why bring that with me? It'd take up another box and, let's just get credit on it.
You also, I think, have a really unique opportunity here. One of the big reasons, and we've talked about this, that you are retiring and moving is to be closer to your grandson. Yeah, your son, daughter-in-law, they're there too, but your grandson.
Exactly.
I think that you, sir, have this fantastic opportunity to meld a new record collector at a very early age and start exposing him to all this great music that you have come to love yourself and pass it on.
Well, I failed with both of my boys miserably. So, I mean, they're like, their only thing is, well, what are we going to do with that, Dad? So, yes, I'm hoping that maybe this will be the hook and we'll get him into it. And a couple people have sent me some Disney records to get him started.
Cool.
Yes.
That should be a lot of fun.
Uh-huh.
Well, that being said, dear sir, I am going to miss you terribly. You have been coming into the store here. We talked about the podcast, 52 episodes in, 1 year of doing this. But this whole idea of you coming in once a week to talk about records that spawned the idea for the podcast goes back several years.
Oh, my God, yes. Most record stores aren't open Sundays, and you opened on Sunday. And that really, for me, with my job, was the one day I have off, that totally off. So it was at noon. That way I had still the afternoon. I could watch my sports on there, but from that noon to 1, it was my religion. This is where I came, to worship. To worship Jim, and as he would put some new platter on there, and goes, "Listen to this.
Check this out."
Yes,
See, you started coming in, I think, just a little bit after we opened, when we were in our smaller location right next door.
Yeah. Yep.
So you got to watch us grow and move and change too.
Yes. And it's been really fun to watch that, from the small to this large store. And even now you go, well, boy, you could go bigger, but it gets hard to manage. And this is manageable.
And you talk about the growth and change and people moving on and in and out through life. Both of us, through this store, met Bill Young and got to form a real good friendship with him, before he unfortunately passed away as well.
Yeah, it is too bad. Yeah, it was so tragic. It really would have been fun just to have him come on and talk psych.
Oh yeah,
and go through that. That man had so much knowledge. My God, he was a fountain of knowledge.
But this comes down again too. It's about the collecting of records. But visiting a record store like you've been doing has meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to have Bill, and there were times that the three of us would be in here talking about records long before the podcast.
Yes.
But this is all about relationships as much as it is about collecting.
Absolutely. I personally have made a lot of great relationships, even as I was traveling this week. You know what? We took time to meet some people. In Denver, I already have a few that have written in. I go to Denver. We'll get together when I come there. It's Denver's slightly bigger than Midland, so they'll probably get a few more people coming in. A little easier to get to. So I look forward for that because, my whole life, I was the only record collector out there. Yeah. It's like, are there other record collectors? I don't know. But now with the world of social media, we've learned that through a YouTube channel. We've learned that, how many thousands, according to Discogs, there's billions of you. So now it's this opportunity to get to know more people and just sit down. And oftentimes when I meet a record collector, we'll talk some about records, but we go into so much else. It's just, there's more to life than just records. It's just the best time to sit down, you have dinner, a beer, whatever, and just talk.
You'll have to let me know if you find a store that you can settle into, once a week out there as well.
There is one. I have to see how far away. I went there one time, and me and the owner kind of hit it off, and he had some cool stuff. So cool. We'll see. Because I like a smaller one. They had two extreme Twist and Shouts out there, and now I can't think of the other one, but they're both huge stores, and they are neat. but you almost get lost.
Yeah.
And like a store like yours, it's intimate. You come in, and I think that's a good part of the experience because, again, anybody can come in. They talk to you, and you talk to everybody. You go to a large store, that doesn't happen. They're busy doing this, busy doing that. So the intimacy of it is half the fun as you get to know owners. And, I've traveled throughout all Michigan, and I have seen so many record stores because I put them onto my channel. And I've met a lot of great owners. And we just sit there and chat. My time's limited because, I got to move on, but it's been fun.
Well, speaking on behalf, and I think I can safely do this, speaking on behalf of all Michigan record store owners, Steve, we're going to miss you.
Yes. That's what they were saying this week as I was hitting there. Yeah, I'll take the Daydream Nation. Boy, we're going to miss you.
We're going to miss you, Steve. I am going to miss you for lots of other reasons.
Yes, but, same here.
As you're packing up, though, all of your records are packed, save for a few that you're still listening to, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly. I'm still trying to knock out a couple podcasts and put, I've been lining them up like an airport runway in my phone. Eventually, I'm going to run out of room with all this video I'm taking. And so now, I'm down to just a couple days, and I'm going to have to do that. So pack up the stereo system. That's hard.
Well, I have got a going away present for you, and it's a record. Go guess. It's a record, right?
Yeah.
One that's tremendously important to me, and I wanted to make sure you had a copy of this, dear sir. I don't think you own that yet.
No, I'm pretty sure I don't because it's Rush.
And I just handed him a Rush Permanent Waves.
This is your favorite one, right?
It is my favorite. It means a lot to me. I wanted you to have a copy of that.
Thank you.
So you can get into it. Now, we talked about you getting into moving pictures. Had you listened to my advice, this would have been the Rush album I had you start with.
Well, I will say the pictures are interesting on the Rush album. And Jim was explaining on Moving Pictures all the storylines that were involved. And here again, you're looking, and there's a lot of stuff happening.
It is. It's my favorite. My favorite Rush album, my favorite Rush cover, lots of great stuff on there. But I wanted to give you something to listen to this week and something to remember Radio Wasteland by.
Yeah, well, I'm going to remember you every week. So
we're still going to talk.
Yeah, and I'll still be watching your videos to see, okay, hey, Jim, could you ship that my way?
What did he drop this week that's hurting? So.
Yes.
Well, all good things come to an end. It's not ending. It's just shifting. How's that?
Exactly.
We'll talk about that.
It's shifting. But, again, it's a nice thing that you have become just an excellent friend, top-notch friend, you and your wife. And, we get together and we have a good time. It's just that's what music can do. And it brings people together. Now, the funny thing is, we'll go out. And there's only our wives go out. Well, Jim's wife likes music. Sadly, my wife doesn't like music. It's just like, but she goes along. There is a free meal involved.
There is.
Yes, and so she always she just likes going out and being with people. But once in a while, we got to change conversations. And most of the people we go out with are all music people. So.
Patty's a good sport.
Yes, she is very much so.
Well, you folks have been listening to two guys talking about records, and in this case, reminiscing about talking about records, which is pretty much the same thing.
It is. 52 episodes. So, when you hit something like that, you need to, to reminisce.
Uphill from here, and that's a good thing for us, I think. Mm-hmm. And we're going to switch things up. I don't know as if we're going to miss a beat on the week or not, but we'll have to see what the schedules hold. Yeah. When you land and how things go out there. But in the case that it's a week or two, we will be back regardless. And watch our Facebook page. Just look for Two Guys Talking About Records for updates, and we'll share information there. You can also connect with Steve and I on that page, and you can visit the Radio Wasteland Records YouTube channel to see this as well. And you can visit the Steve Carlson Vinyl Community channel as well.
Yes. And, our Facebook page for Two Guys Talking About Records is getting a lot. It keeps growing. I think I saw 817 last week.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I thank everyone. When I've been out, you meet people, the podcast guys. And so, for you there listening, thanks for hanging out with us. But it does mean a lot. I tell you, this is a lot of fun.
It is.
This is like a hobby in itself.
Talking about records is something that happens naturally for us. Well, again, thank you, Steve, very much, and thank all of you for listening. And Bud, I'm going to miss you.
Yeah, I'm going to miss you too, Jim.
Have a
I'm going to
good
miss you
one.
a lot. Yep.
Enjoy the retirement.
Yes, I will, and the grandbaby will be the best.
And we will talk to you folks again very soon on Two Guys Talking About Records. Until then, I am Jim, and I'm a record store owner.
And I'm Steve, a moving record collector.
Have a good one, folks. Thanks.
Bye.